everybody.
And tonight we are doing Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. That's right, Guy Ritchie's second movie of 2023. Fucking pulling a Soderbergh.
Really?
Pumping out movies. He made another movie this year called Operation Fortune, which I missed because of schedule timing, and it was in theaters very short. But yeah, that one was a more Guy Ritchie-y movie where it's like gangsters doing stuff, you know.
Okay.
The more traditional Snatch, Gentleman, Lock, Stock. Yeah. Guy Ritchie movies. He's made a lot, actually. I didn't realize that I was looking at his filmography. I thought I had seen everything pretty much except for Sherlock Holmes movies. And he's made like 14, 15 movies. A lot of stuff that I did not, I was not privy to. I've seen mostly just his gangster stuff in Aladdin.
Yeah.
Which I like.
I saw the Sherlock Holmes movies, so we're going to, now
good? Are those worth checking out?
I think they're well-made, fun things, and they're very Guy Ritchie without like the blood splatter. There's a lot of things that you would pinpoint as a Guy Ritchie movie. So
I like his filming style, so that's a positive.
Mm-hmm.
But this is The Covenant, his second movie of the year, as we said. Did you know anything about this going in?
Yeah, I think I'd seen a couple previews, and actually the reason that I went is because this is right up your dad's alley, so he wanted to see it, and he's like, you guys never see anything that I want to see, and you never review anything that's good, quote unquote. So,
we've reviewed over 300 movies, but yeah, sure, we've never reviewed anything good.
Well, for him, it's like he likes formulaic stuff, so.
Yeah, stuff that's exceptionally uninteresting to talk about. stuff that you could be like, I could sum this whole up in 5 minutes, and then there's no episode.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't want to talk about it. He just wants to enjoy it.
He just wants to go, yeah, it was good.
He's we've had this discussion before, but he's the average moviegoer, just regular, wants to go and be entertained, and that's it. So,
I suppose.
So anyway, it got me into the theater for this.
Yeah, it got on our schedule. And The Covenant follows U.S. Army Sergeant John Kinley and Afghan interpreter Ahmed. And there were other summaries, but I don't like any of them because they give too much away or they don't explain it correctly. So that's what this is about. It's about U.S. Army Sergeant John Kinley and Afghan interpreter Ahmed. It's a
buddy movie.
In a way. It has got a 83% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 98% audience score, 8.0 on IMDb, 63 Metacritic. That's high, folks.
Wow.
High scores.
What's wrong with the critics?
Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to...
It's interesting that they're not on board with everybody else, right?
Well, Metacritic is at 63, so I guess they're a little... But I looked more into Metacritic, how they kind of work. They're more like IMDb, but just critics kind of thing. Like, you know how IMDb, everything's, like 5 to 7, pretty much. Yeah. And then Metacritic is the same thing where it actually takes the scores and then does it that way. So it actually, like, I think Metacritic and IMDb are actually better measurements of, like, how good a movie actually is. But the problem is, because of the way they grade, everything is between a 5 and a 7, pretty much. Metacritic's a little more varied because it's a smaller pool of and it's not even all critics. It's like a very small pool of critics, but it's worth noting. It's one of the majors. So anyway, enough talking about critics. If you haven't seen Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, it is in theaters now. Those are the reviews. It's a 2-hour film, so pretty average, not too long, not too short. So yeah, there you go. We're going to spoil it here now. And the way this movie is broken up is it's broken up kind of into 3 acts. This is going on during March 2018 is at least the starting point. It goes over a pretty long period of time, but that's the starting point. And it's in the war in Afghanistan, and Sergeant John Kinley recruits an Afghan named Ahmed to interpret with the locals on a mission and a couple of other little missions. And the relationship is contentious at first. Ahmed is he's just barely polite and respectful enough to come across as level-headed, but he also clearly has a little bit of a attitude. But he also has a lot of experience and has a lot of good intel. So he's kind of a complicated, prickly figure when we meet him, as is John Kinley, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who is in charge of this group. Kind of a standard military-ish guy, a little standoffish at first with Ahmed because he is himself cantankerous and hard to manage, which is very important in military. So that's kind of the first third, is them getting to feel each other out in this company that they're running, and they do a couple little small missions. And then the middle third happens after a mission goes wrong, and Jake Gyllenhaal loses his whole team except for Ahmed. And he is badly injured. He's almost taken into custody or taken prisoner or whatever by the Taliban.
Right.
But Ahmed is able to save him. And for a good solid, it's close to a third of the movie, it's just Ahmed wheeling Jake Gyllenhaal's disabled ass around and saving his ass. And it's pretty harrowing. And eventually, right, Jake Gyllenhaal is saved, and he makes it back to the States. He makes a full recovery. He has very little memory of this time. He was basically unconscious for the days, weeks, however long this section is. And when he comes to, he realizes that Ahmed is nowhere to be found, and he is now very high up on the Taliban's hit list because of his assistance of John Kinley. And they've become very famous, and Taliban don't like that. So Jake Gyllenhaal, feeling like he has a debt that cannot be repaid unless he does this, decides to go back to try to repay his debt and save Ahmed and his family. So that is the story of The Covenant. Okay, what'd you think of Guy Ritchie's The Covenant?
That is the story of The Covenant. It's all a bunch of spoilers, and wow.
You have to,
yeah. I was interested in this because I know this has been a piece of information that's out there, where there's these interpreters that helped out the United States in Iraq and Afghanistan, and were essentially left behind to deal with the ramifications of that. So this is an important story. I know that this is an amalgamation of all the stories. This is not one particular, buddy set that we're looking at. This is just a bunch of things put together, but I think it's an important story to start with, and I think Guy Ritchie really did it justice in that when you did the synopsis just now, it sounds like, oh, it's all very exciting. There's this war piece to it. Then there's this ambush, and then there's this part where he's wheeling him across all, I don't even know how many kilometers of desert, like a lot, right?
Yeah,
it's lot, days. Up and down mountains, days and days. And you're thinking, how can that possibly be at all interesting to watch? But it's fucking riveting. It's just like, you feel you almost feel the heat of the desert and the cold of the desert at night. And you feel this, I don't know, it's this energy that this guy has, that he has to do this. And the magnitude of this guy's soul and personality, he could have easily left Kinley there to perish, or to be, used as a pawn by the Taliban. But he has, he's got a soul, and he's dedicated to doing this, and he has a wife and child, and now they're in danger because of this. Great storytelling, and a story that needs to be heard.
It's really good storytelling. It's one of the best storytelling formulas, cross-armed opposites, where guy 1 and guy 2, we just don't get along. We're from other sides of the track, and then they do little things to earn each other's respect, and then they save each other's asses a couple times, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is the most solid brothership that you cannot break. Like, all while like they're never like super like buddy with each other. Really, there is a moment later on they are, and it's wonderful. But it's tried and true formula, and it's brought to, and in the setting of this war, and choosing these two types of people to be the cross-armed opposites, so to speak. It's a good choice. It's a very, very well executed movie. I did not see where this was going. I was on the edge of my seat for most of this. The two leads are amazing. The directing is constantly well paced. The soundtrack is awesome. I was trying to find the score to this, and it's not out yet. The score is literally not, as of this recording. Maybe it is when you're hearing this, but as of this recording, the score was not out. I was like, I need to just listen to the score, because after a couple of movies, every once in a while, I'll get the score, and I just want to like write to it, or like pace in my basement, or take the dog for a walk, or whatever the fuck. This beat, like, it's not like at the end of the year, I don't know how I'll feel about Covenant, because it is another war movie, but in the moment of watching it, moment to moment, it's very good. I was impressed. I didn't hear a lot of hype about this. I still haven't. I really haven't heard a lot of people talking about Covenant, but it's very, very competently well told. It's not a mold. It's not a mold breaker though.
Yeah, but it's a movie where, again, you're just like focused on these two people, and one of the things I really like about it is that they're not, they're flawed individuals, not brutally flawed, but they're, no one's portrayed as,
they feel like real people,
100% real people, and you get this this window open to what was going on within with the Afghan life during that time, and how there are times when the Taliban are driving around and people are just living their lives, and you're just like, how could you how does your body sustain that level of
adrenaline
of adrenaline, for that period of time.
On edge all the time.
This is on edge all the time. This has been going on since George Bush. This has been going on for 20 years, and it's like how do you just go about living your life? And he's got Ahmed has a brother in this movie that plays sort of a pivotal role, and he skirts the line between good guy, bad guy kind of situation thing. So it just sort of left me. I know there are a lot of movies, and particularly war movies, and even movies about Iraq and Afghanistan that give you that same feeling. But there's something about the way that Guy Ritchie made this movie that just the feeling is just very, very actual and visceral, and
it is the filmmaking, 100%. Because I distill the story. If I take a further back view, like we talked about, like the middle third a lot, and the last third, like the first 40 minutes is just introducing the company, and like we get introduced to all this world of characters that are going to be killed off very quickly, and like that's all like good and fine, but like it doesn't pick up until it becomes our main two characters. But even then, like the beginning is just kind of generic-y kind of stuff, but it's Guy Ritchie. It's Guy Ritchie's storytelling. He is so good at it. And I even think at the end, like sitting here thinking about what literally happened, he goes back and he saves the guy. Like he has to, of course. But like the mechanisms to get there.
He goes back on his own accord. Like, the U.S. government is throwing every roadblock in the way. And he goes back, he leverages his home, to go do this, and finds a guy that'll help him out. So
Guy Ritchie does an awesome trick. He almost makes a whole movie and then adds in another pretty good 30-minute movie at the end with the same characters.
Right.
Because if you capped the first 2/3 as a single story at an hour and 20 minutes or whatever it clocks in at, and Ahmed saves John Kinley and gets him back, and then it ends there, and then you can do like the stats or whatever, like because they do the stats as with most based on true story kind of things, where it's like this many million, this many thousand people died or still trapped there or whatever. But then he gives you that entire third act, which is John Kinley now, the roles are reversed, and it strengthens everything, and it makes everything so much stronger and better, and it makes our main character guy, who up to this point, Jake Gyllenhaal, has been generic commander man and then unconscious, and then when we finally get more of his character, we see the character, like, and I'm saying character like he has good character, like he's like
he has character. Exactly.
I cannot sleep at night knowing that man who we made a deal, and I love that that's how he frames it too.
Yep.
We made a deal.
Yep.
We said we would give him something, and he said he would give us something, and that is what I'm making good on my deal, on my word, and that's why that's why the third act works and that character works. It's like it's that individual, like you said, the big system. Like the government doesn't want, the U.S. government doesn't give a fuck. They don't want to help. Like the Taliban is retaking control of Afghanistan already, so like they're not going to help at all. Like there's nothing. This guy has to go to back channels. He has to call on favors and get this like mercenary guy.
Yeah, he's got a black ops dude and company going out doing that. That does these kind of things. For money, I think it's basically. And
I think I appreciate it now because of watching so many movies. But I think it's the average person who watches this will underappreciate how hard it actually is to do that and like tell it well, because to end your movie and then restart your movie with the same people but with a slightly different bend, and then you also have to be like, he's getting like black ops guys and like they're gonna they show up at the end and do the Deus Ex Machina and save them, like that stuff's gonna happen. And it also feels a little like, to me it feels a little Hollywood, like would he really be able to call in these couple of favors? Is there really this private mini military that's going to go in and save him? Like it feels Hollywoody and like not in a good way. It feels like, oh, I know what's coming. But it's the filmmaking, it's the trick. He makes it feel like this is real and happening, and like it's not. It doesn't feel Hollywoody. It feels real in the moment when you're watching it. That's tough.
Well, and I think the key part of it is the bridge between the time when we see, Jake Gyllenhaal back in the States, and he's obviously had traumatic brain injury from, we see how he gets, butted in the head with guns, and he's out. He's a total mess. He's not there.
He takes like a month to recover after he makes it back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's that segue. It seems like downtime in the movie, but it's not, because he's completely resetting and making Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Kinley, at that point, you're just like, this dude is going to do whatever it takes. You're building that up, that's what's going to happen. And I'm glad he didn't go the route of, because he's back home, he's with his family. He has a business. There was a business that he had before because this was not his first tour of Afghanistan. So he had a whole family business going on, and so that business is thriving, and you see that. And I'm so glad that he didn't go the route of, he let everything go, like he alienated his family and couldn't do his job. It wasn't like that at all.
Yeah, no, they have the important scenes where like he's talking with his wife and that one buddy who's like a military guy. Like, you need those human moments, and a big chunk of that intro is him making futile phone calls, which is the most relatable thing. Like who
hasn't tried to call some.
It's the most relatable thing. We're like, who hasn't tried to call someone and they're on hold, and of course it's the fucking government, so they're going to be even slower than regular hold people. Yeah, they're going to be the fucking worst.
It's the government who absolutely does not want to help you. It's not just the government. It's these people want you. Yeah,
they want to give you the runaround, and like they don't
exactly.
And there is a bigger, larger, like, because when I was watching this and when I was getting towards the end, and I knew we were going to get the real, they always do it with real movies, or not real movies, you know what I mean, based on true stories, where at the end it's like 10,000 interpreters are still trapped over there, and and 700 have been killed. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they're gonna do that. When that happens, and when I know it's coming, it does at times make me think in the movie, what's the lean? What is the purpose? Like, is this a little propaganda-y? I get that in my head when I'm watching this. Because Guy Ritchie's an amazing director and he's made mostly great movies, he gets away with it mostly, but I can see this being in the hands of a lesser person, feeling like, what's the message supposed to be here? That we fucked up the whole Middle East war? That we fucked up the withdrawal? I got the idea that we fucked up with the withdrawal and that we should still be America presence in the Middle East, is what it felt like to me, is that we didn't, it's reframing it not like, it's reframing it not as like, we're an imperialist power taking over countries. It's reframing it as, we had an agreement with these individual people who helped us, and now they are being hurt because we did not hold up our end of the bargain. So
yeah, it doesn't.
yeah,
It's
what do you do
interesting.
with
You
that?
should. I didn't think about it in that context, but
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say that because I'm thinking about it now, and I felt like this was all very personal. Like this was not personal to Guy Ritchie, but like this was
No, he
all
didn't.
based on.
Yeah, he's
No,
I mean,
he doesn't have this kind of control.
he has a writer and
but,
producer credit on this, which means he's not just a gun for hire like I imagine he was for Aladdin,
right.
but like you know, Guy Ritchie movies. The stuff he's passionate about is making gangsters shoot each other. There's Guy Ritchie gangster movies and there's Guy Ritchie studio movies. This is a studio movie, and honestly, this is maybe his best studio movie that I've seen so far.
Yeah, that is that. This is. I mean, it's the Covenant. You've made personal. This is not about the American government making, a deal with the Afghan government. It's about people, and it's about the American government as an entity making deals with individual people and not feeling, because there's no repercussions if they don't.
Right? Who's going to punish the U.S.? Exactly. The U.S. government pulls out and they didn't hold up the word. There is no consequence for us. Like, our country's too big, too strong. Yeah. No one's gonna come knock down our door. Like,
no. People are mad because, of all the stuff that was left behind, all the, billions of dollars of equipment or millions or whatever it was, and all of that, and that it seemed like a futile effort. That's, yeah, sure. That's what gets the coverage. But these are the kind of things, these actual human interest stories are the kinds of things, and I think that's sort of the point I was trying to make from the beginning, is that this is the story that needs to be told, is that you have to put a human face on this kind of stuff. And, war is obviously always ugly, but when it comes down to, you get these human factors where you've got a huge entity that makes an agreement with a smaller entity and does not back it up with, the full force of what it should do, it reeks of just, power and ugliness. And, you feel for all the Afghan people, but you really feel for these people who just put everything out there for
you feel for the people who trusted us to say, hey, we got you. And then we didn't get them.
We got you until, we do this really crazy pulling out, and
we run out of money, and then we're not going to be there anymore. And then,
yeah, we're out of money, but somehow we're able to get all of our, personnel assets out. Not all of our
people, but not the people we promised we would get out.
Exactly. And I have a feeling that there's probably a piece of it where there's people you can't find or that kind of thing. Okay,
that's part of this. Is like, he's off the grid because it's kind of like a feedback loop, though. Like, he's off the grid because he's being chased by the Taliban. Like, well, we can't find him because he's off the grid. Well, because he's being chased by the Taliban because of what he did to help you. Like, but it's like, it's not worth it. We can't find him. Like, it's too much work and resources. We can't do it. But like, he's only in this position because he did what you asked him to do.
And it's not
and beyond.
That you can't find them. If somebody can find them, he can be found. So it's not that you can't find him. You just don't want to find him. So,
but it is part of like, because if you'd think, that's why I was thinking politics when I was watching this, because I'm watching this and my worldview is I'm pretty anti-interventionist. I don't really, me personal life, I wanted us to pull out of the Middle East. That's what I would do. And I know there's criticism of how we did it. And this is a good example of, this is a reason why it was not done very well, because we left all these people behind. But but I'm watching it and thinking like, yes, true, but like, that's not the whole truth. I mean, if let's put it the other way, if we had stayed and gotten all those people out, what would the resources cost? How many other lives would have been lost to do that? So it's not a full, fair story to say like, we left these people, like, it's trade-offs. Everything's trade-offs. So I do feel when I'm at towards the end, I'm enjoying this whole ride. I love the buddy relationship, and that's really what I love, is the story between the two guys. And like, when Jake Gyllenhaal shows up to that village and he's just leaning there, and he does his little like jokey quip, and I was grinning ear to ear. I was just like, oh, thank God these guys get a human moment. Thank God these guys get a human moment. It was so nice. It was so earned. But then when I think about the larger, like, is this American war propaganda kind of thing? Like, it muddies it just a little bit. Also knowing that they got a prestige filmmaker to come on here and make this, and like it's called Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Like it's purposeful.
I know
it's purposeful. Like and I don't think that's because maybe Guy Ritchie really wanted to make this movie, but like he came out with literally another movie this year that feels like all his other movies. Maybe I have it backwards. Maybe the studio pictures are the gangster movies, and he really wanted to make The Covenant and Aladdin. Like maybe I have it, and Sherlock Holmes. Maybe those are Guy Ritchie's passion projects, and the studios make him make gangster movies.
What do people want to see? Do they want to see the gangster movies? And then
I want to see all of them. I think he mostly makes.
And
this
is like a passion project right here. I don't know. It's an interesting.
He is the co-writer and producer and director. So like I mean. But two other guys wrote this, 5 other producers, so it's hard to say.
I get the feeling, I get the feeling that he's just one of those people that has a wide variety of interests and is
That's
able
probably
to,
true.
Yeah, and he's with what he does, he's able to engage those in a lot of different ways, and so this just happens to be one of them. I don't think it's getting a lot of play out there because it does feel a little, it feels like it could ruffle a lot of feathers. It could ruffle military feathers, so that's a right wing feather. It can ruffle left wing feathers in ways too, and so it's like it seems, I mean, if anything it's edgy because that's what he does, so it doesn't, when you're watching it, I don't think it feels like that kind of edgy, but when you dig into it, like we're talking about it, there's it fleshes out differently, so just all I'm good for, like Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know that I really like see. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, it's a Jake Gyllenhaal movie, I'm gonna go see it.
No,
or
but
it's a Jake Gyllenhaal movie, I'm not gonna go see it.
Yeah,
but
he's not a needle mover for me per se. I think he's above average as an actor. I like his work. But he is also always Jake Gyllenhaal. Like even when he can play different roles, but he's still the same guy. It's it's kind of rare. But
I guess he didn't feel that way to me in this movie at all, though. I was not looking at the movie seeing Jake Gyllenhaal. Honestly,
that's pretty good. I never
I think
forgot
really
it was
good.
him because like later career Gyllenhaal has been a little more grittier roles. I feel like when he was younger he did kind of more drama-y kind of stuff, and now he's more serious man. But and
also the guy who played Ahmed, I mean, I don't
Dar
know
Salim.
what
Do not want to shortchange Dar Salim because he carries the middle act, which is maybe the best act.
He carries the middle. I mean, he does, and the first part. I mean, the last part
literally
is
and figuratively.
The last third is so dramatic. Of not that the middle's not, but you kind of get a chance to breathe, even though you feel like you have a gun to your head. But the last, the last act is so. There's so much action going on, and I was really. I had some concerns for people. So,
I wasn't sure because whenever it's these kind of stories, and like we've already killed a bunch of named characters. We killed JJ and Ray J or whatever the hell those guys' names were.
We killed everyone except for the 2 of them. So.
Right, and I'm thinking like, okay, like once they started dying, I'm like, holy shit, they're gonna. It's underrated. That's an underrated scene. Like they kill everybody. Yeah. They kill his whole company, and it's brutal. And
the thing is.
It feels like real and slow. Like they slowly lose ground. Like, oh, we lost these guys over here. We lost them over here. Try to get out. We lose the last 2 coming. Like it feels like an actual like battle. Like it feels like, oh, we're losing ground. Like it feels so lived in. It's good.
It feels like a battle, and it also feels like there's a lot of these movies where they portray like U.S. forces or like first world forces as being this invincible situation, and that these other people like the Taliban is just like a ragtag fugitive fleet of dudes, and not that they're not portrayed like that in this movie, but they end it they end this whole company of people except for Jake Gyllenhaal and the interpreter. So it's just so convincing that it's
it's like they get there and they're in control, and then things start going wrong, and then the waves of people start showing up, and they keep showing up. Like, it feels like a situation where you're watching it at first, you're like, okay, the good guys are going to get out of this. Maybe they'll lose. They had already lost a guy, and so that was like part of the thing. Like, okay, people can die, so that was a good starting point. They lost like one guy in that earlier part.
One guy, yeah.
And now we have the whole company, and like, okay, they're at risk. And so when we lose a couple, we're like, okay, we knew this was going to happen. But then as the battle keeps going, they keep losing ground and they keep losing people. And you're like, holy shit, they're literally going to get wiped out. Like, they're going to like that just doesn't happen with protagonist groups in movies. Like,
it doesn't.
It's not common.
No.
Like, we've seen a million war movies. How often is your platoon that you're following, they're gone in the first third, and now it's literally just a Jake Gyllenhaal, Darcy Lim story, which I'm on board with because they're great.
There's one other movie. There was a movie with, I hate to reference it, I think it's Mark Wahlberg but it's a real story about, I think it's Marcus Luttrell, sharpshooter or something.
Oh, Shooter?
What?
Shooter?
Yeah.
I never seen
Yeah, where he winds up being the only one that's left from his platoon. And so, but that was a film very differently. That happened over like a longer period of time. This is something that you're watching unspool and it's all action happening really fast, but it almost feels like it's in slow motion because it's just
that's what makes it feel
so
real and raw.
Crazily.
Yeah, like it's literally like I'm losing ground because that truck is moving up 10 feet and like the guys are getting out and moving up and we're losing. Like, it's literal. It feels that way. Whereas in other movies, it feels more like we're kind of, not all, but like the generic way to do action scenes is you're winding up, punch, rope-a-dope punch. Like, this feels like a true document of a battle going on, like a high-def document of a battle. Like, it's great.
Yeah, it's that part.
The ending part is very... It's tense to the Deus Ex Machina, which is satisfying because of how, like, America, fuck yeah, like, literally they come in with an AC-130 and fucking blow up a dam of people, like, until it becomes like, oh yeah, we're America, we can literally blow them out of the water if we give a shit to. But that whole last 20-minute escape, harrowing. Like, I wasn't sure. I was not sure if they would all make it out of there. It was convincing.
I can see when I'm watching it, I was thinking, oh my God, they're not going to want to kill the family because I
thought maybe one of the main guys would die. I thought either Jake would sacrifice himself or Dar would not make it out. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I was almost 100% sure that one of them was not going to make it. I wasn't sure who it was going to be, but I really
if it was a betting odds, one of them dies or neither of them die, I would say not one of them dies is the favorite.
Yes. So I was just kind of on the edge of my seat waiting to see who it was going to be. And I kind of was leaning for it to be, not that I was hoping it was going to be, but I thought it was probably going to be like Kinley that wasn't going to, come back. But this, even though it kind of, I don't want to say it like had a happy ending because it was kind of crazy, but it had the best ending that you could possibly want for these characters.
Right.
It was still harrowing and I was not sure about what was going to happen.
Poor truck driver guy who gets caught up in all this. Like, did he get something out of this? Because I hope he didn't have to go back to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, because I can't imagine the truck driver who helped the famous John Kinley and Ahmed get away is too popular.
I feel like he got shot on the bridge. He got shot.
Maybe they gave him something because at this point he did so much heroism. But like, I do not recall them saying, oh, and the truck driver was okay.
And truck driver guy also got a visa to the United States.
Exactly.
Because that's what he would have to have at this point in order to survive.
It's because it's just the way they build this movie up, the way they build up these two main characters, that when they come back and they see each other, like, you really love to see them together. And when they're in their final moments and they give the final nods, it feels impactful. And when Ahmed gets his fucking passport visa, like, it's awesome. It feels great. And they're stoic dudes, so they give each other like a little nod, but like it's top tier bro machismo war movie. Like, it feels, it's great. It's very well done. Guy Ritchie does it again, is what I got to say.
Yeah, I can't believe. I mean, this is sort of bad. We've done these back-to-back war movies now. One we've did World War II with Sisu, and then this one, and both. It's really about the storytelling. The stories are both very simple stories, and in the wrong hands would be intolerable to watch, honestly.
Yes.
And very different styles, but just so well done. Wishing that this was getting a little more, chatter.
It's not. I mean, so we just talked about Sisu was made for $6 million and made about $6 million. This is made for $55 million and is currently, after a couple weeks in theaters, at 13 in the box office. So this is a flop. This is not being seen, despite the critical reviews we said earlier. I mean, we said there could be some hot button left and right kind of stuff, but for the most part, critics and audiences overwhelmingly positive. So even the things that even the like imperialist, like America Bad things I picked up on was still dwarfed by just the very, very good storytelling. And so you got a World War II movie and an Afghanistan or a bit of Afghanistan war. Is that what they call it? I don't even know what they call the last 20 years of wars we've had.
I'm not sure.
History hasn't decided what that's called yet, I guess. But like generic, like we've seen tons of Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, whatever Middle East modern day wars, and then we've seen even more World War II movies.
World War II, yeah.
Sisu and The Covenant and Guy Ritchie's The Covenant feel like distinct slices of reality, and they're told in ways that, like, even though Sisu's a little more over the top, this is much more down to earth. They feel fresh in a way that I didn't think the war genre still had.
Yeah, and it's got to be a combination of maybe. I mean, I think we touched on this a little bit in Sisu too, that the acting was stellar for the main character, and I think in this also both the main actors were just spot on. I mean, there was a little bit more. They had a little bit more padding in this with other people, but I just bought both of them. I bought into the whole thing, and none of it was candy coated. None of it was, blatantly, I don't know, anti anything, pro anything, except for when you give your word, you give your word. It's the covenant. You don't have anything. You have nothing else in your life but your word. So it's not about what you say you're going to do. It's not about what you think you're going to do. It's not what you plan to do. It's about what you do. And then they
make it a point in this movie. That is the underlying. I think they even do the dictionary.
And it's
definition
about character.
Thing.
Yeah. It's about character, and it just runs the gamut. Like this goes beyond borders. This is why humans are humans. Is because you give your word. And two people from two different slices of life, that's just what happened.
And they hold each other's word and the bond, and I don't know how you do it, but I want to see more Jake Gyllenhaal, Dar Salim films. Is that an option? I was just thinking, like, it was very like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers do the arm got pushing too many pencils from Predator. Like, it's literally like it's that level of bromance that I'm like, I want these two guys to be. It would probably bastardize it and be terrible very quickly, but like
it would.
It would, of course, it would. It'd have to be, but like I don't know. You don't get that good buddy chemistry all the time, and like they have it, and they have it, and they're oddball. They're not like each other like visually, so it makes it even better. I love when that happens.
No, but as I was driving home from the movie, all I could think of was, oh my gosh, I hope that he got a house right next door to Jake Gyllenhaal.
I know. I want them to move in together.
And that they're going to have barbecues together, and their kids are going to grow up together. And I was like, and I don't feel like that after a lot of these things, but no, I'm definitely not. But I was just like, oh, I'm going to pretend that that's what happened for them.
Okay, do you recommend Guy Ritchie's The Covenant?
Yeah, you got to see Guy Ritchie's The Covenant.
I got to go catch up with Operation Fortune, because apparently Guy Ritchie's still making bangers. So, two recommends for Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, and maybe we'll catch up on that other one. I mean, it is a 2023 film. Maybe if it'll come out in streaming soon, we'll catch up on that. Mm-hmm. That got mixed reviews, so I don't know if that's going to be quite as... But I did like The Gentleman, and I liked Wrath of Man, which were his last two gangstery movies with Jason Statham.
Gentleman was good.
Gentleman was good. It was okay. But again, soundtrack, both in those movies actually very, and when this one comes out, hopefully it's out now, like soon, because like, oh, it's so good. It's just like, it's a relentless drive. Wrath of Man had it too. That was the last Guy Ritchie movie I saw, and it's just a relentless driving soundtrack. Who's the music? Christopher Benstead is the music in this movie. Christopher, you made good music. This was an excellent score, and I
well done, Christopher.
Yes, it's very, very edge of your seat, pulse pounding, great work. So, 2 recommends for Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, and once again, we've had some back-to-back hits here. I think we've strung to get a John Wick, and a Sisu, and a Covenant. Like we've got some violent, good movies.
Some action-packed stuff.
This could be a very Bullet Train top 5 end of year kind of situation, but it's very very, very early. All the prestige stuff comes out at the end of the year. We're only 4 months in and change. So, 2 recommends Guy Ritchie's The Covenant in theaters, and we will have more theater and streaming new things. We're trying to stick to new things as they come out, and if you have specific ones you want to recommend to us, because we can't get to everything, but if you specifically want to hear it, it helps. Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook. Reach out to me on Instagram. I am Brennan_podhost. And you can email the show, filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Thank you for being on Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, Mama K.
That was my pleasure.
Until next time, this is Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.